This is Motorsport Radio.
Awesome, right?
The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Hello and welcome. It is the Superbike Show. My name is Lester. We are live. It is Wednesday evening here on Motorsport Radio. Thank you very much for tuning in. Well, coming up in the next couple of hours, we do have a packed show for you. We have news of a brand new factory Triumph team and who may be running that. That's coming up a bit later in the show. Also, live interviews right here coming up in the next couple of hours with Indy offer, Max Cook, Michael Hill shortly, and Brad Jones a bit later on, and your comments and any questions that you've got for all those people, because we are live. This is Wednesday night. It is the Superbike Show. It is Motorsport Radio.
Join the conversation. Contact the show on Twitter, on Facebook, and on our website, Motorsport Radio.
Wow, there we go. So thank you very much if you've just tuned in and you are with us. We have a full panel, really full show this evening. Thank you very much to Jay King, back once again. Good evening, Jay.
Good evening, Lester. How's it going?
Good. Amazingly, we're just about as on time as we've been, I think.
Yeah, this has got to be the earliest we've got on.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Also joining us as well is Trystan Finocchiaro from the, if you don't know, of course, his racing exploits, most recently in the National Superstock 600 class. He'd be there or thereabouts. Up front, I'm going to say next season in 2021. But with what team? He will tease us later.
We'll find out very shortly.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe even possibly with the new Triumph team in the future. I don't know.
That would be a dream, but I can't announce anything solid.
It's got nothing. And also, as well, joining us back once again, fresh out of quarantine, but only for an hour on the show tonight, it is Michael Howarth. Good evening, Michael. Hey up.
Good evening, everybody. Nice to be back again. I missed last week, and I didn't realise until just then when you were introduced. Trystan, I'm not being funny, but with my Yorkshire accent, there is no way I'm ever going to try and say your last name.
Go on, give it a go.
If I'm ever commentating on you, I am going to have to come up with the last name for you. Because if I say that in front of 20,000 people at Alton Park, it's going to go very pear-shaped.
Give it a try, go on.
You might as well get your practice in.
I don't even know, because we're still before the watershed.
All right, I'll leave you on that one then.
Talking about names that you can't pronounce, can you pronounce the supposedly new Japanese rider at Honda?
Let's not get into possible international diplomatic incidents, shall we? Not just yet.
Way, I believe I know who it is. And someone sent me a screenshot of his Instagram. I've not even been on his Instagram page yet. But
well, yeah, you sent it to me last week, and then I read it on the show.
That's why we've got someone like Michael Hill on the show that can do all this pronunciation and sit and smile and be all nice while I get it completely wrong and go tits up.
Indeed, Michael Hill on the show very, very, very shortly, imminently, in the next couple of minutes. But yeah, just a quick reminder once again, because we are live, you can put your questions to our guests tonight. We've got loads of guests. Hopefully everyone will turn up on the right time and there'll be no overlaps, because my head will explode moving boxes around and things. And so we've got Brad Jones later on.
Are the boxes to stand on? Are the boxes to stand on?
That's Tristan's department.
Okay, we're not letting that secret out.
I mean, considering anyway, no. But Max Cook also going to be here as well, going to be telling us what he is doing next season, if you don't know, and whether he's recovered from his pretty big hip injury as well that he had in the season in Spain, racing out there. So that'll be interesting. Also, GP talk as well, catching up on the latest on that. I'm sure you probably already watched it, but if you didn't, Trystan and the gang will tell you all about it. And also Indy offer on the show a bit later on towards the end. So if you've got any questions for any of the guests, get them to us at Motorsport Radio, Facebook, Twitter. We're on Twitch as well, and tonight I believe we're on, for the first time ever, live streaming on Mixcloud. Yay! Okay.
What the hell is Mixcloud?
What's Mixcloud?
Mixcloud, it's for music people, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh, I'm sure the audience will be massive.
All the
someone streaming through going, and then Leicester going, and now about
we've probably already been taken off there, to be honest, for like inappropriate music content, as in none. But anyway.
Yeah.
Quick bit of news before we get Michael Hill on the show. Trystan, there was some interesting bits of news in GP. Brad Smith apparently back with a chance to be Britain's only GP rider next season after he was announced back at Aprilia after being dropped. He's been given a chance testing.
Well, yeah, he's back with the Aprilia squad, so he'll still be a test rider there for them as well. But I think the permanent seat is looking like it's going to go. There's a few rumours being dropped around that, and there's these. I think Joe Roberts has been linked to that. Bidzecki was linked to that at one point, but I don't think that's going to happen. And there was one other rider linked to that one as well. But yeah, it's good to see Brad will be continuing with them, but it's not going to be as a permanent seat ride.
I don't think it's going to be Joe Roberts, because I think I've already seen pictures of him with his new team on his Instagram today, I think. So I think he's out of the question. I'm still hoping Chaz will get it, but it's gone a bit quiet on that rumour now.
Yeah, I mean, after I turned it down at the beginning of last week, obviously twice actually, they phoned me up twice. Have they not said it's whoever's going to be whoever kind of wins testing? They're
having sort of a shootout, aren't they?
That's going to and it seems to me again. I don't know what goes on in Aprilia's mind or the guys that run the team, but now you're going to have Bradley and Salvadori, and I even said that correctly, Salvadori, it's not Salvadori, fighting out to just go faster and faster and faster. So where do you get the data from the testing where you've just got lads that are going to go for an out-and-out lap instead of saying this part works, that part doesn't? It just seems to me, again, that Aprilia have got the march on everyone for next year because they can develop and no one else can, and they've already started to balls it up before we even get going. Or are they going to just leave all the development to Alish, Espargaro, and just leave them two to fight it out? What do you think?
Whatever. To be honest with you, whatever I think is going to happen, whoever takes that ride is going to be battling for last place in GPs, really, aren't they? Let's be fair.
They're allowed to develop next season, and no other team is. So if Aprilia and even the Piaggio group don't use that to their advantage at long last, then there is absolutely no point in them being in MotoGP, because they can steal the march on everybody next year. They can develop all year, they can do whatever they like, and nobody else can. That gives them a chance to become a top 10 player once again, and not just an odd occasion where Alice gets in there. I'd love to bring Michael Hill into this a little bit early to see what he thinks. But
well, we are actually going to do that just now, actually. Bring him into the show. It's about time we got a fresh opinion on things instead of the Todd Morden Daily. The Todd Bugle, or whatever it is. I don't know.
Just tell me to shut whenever you want, Lester, and I will. It's all right.
No, well, you're welcome on the show. But Trystan, yes, please go ahead and introduce our first guest.
Yeah, he's going to be talking about a bit of World Superbike. He's the World Superbike man himself, World Superbike Paddock show host, Michael Hill. Michael, welcome to the Superbike show.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm just glad to be talking to people. There's no Paddock show this year, and I was super excited. And I seen that Michael Howarth was on the show, and I wish I'd gone back to both. I'd gone to bed early, to be honest.
Well, it's brilliant to have you on, and we kept that one a secret on purpose.
Yeah. No, how are you all doing anyway?
Yeah, not too bad, buddy.
Good. I'm glad you've actually brought me in early, because I was listening intently to this Aprilia debate, and I don't want to jeopardise any future career with my current employers and say anything out of turn, but. I'm inclined to agree with Michael a little bit in terms of, Aprilia, they offered the ride, from my understanding, to several Moto2 riders, Joe Roberts, Marco Bezzecchi, Fabio Di Gianantonio. I believe they also made an approach to Remy Gardner. I don't know whether that's fully true or not, but it seems nobody wants to ride the Aprilia. And I think, I run a podcast as well, and Trystan, I think we touched on this a little bit ourselves a couple of weeks ago. How good is the Aprilia? I don't mean that as a disrespect to Aleix Espargaro, because he's clearly a fast rider, but, the riders that they're talking to, again, with respect to the riders in Moto2, some of those riders haven't even fought for championships in Moto2, so how good will they be? So it's like when they were talking about, let's put Joe Roberts on the bike, And I think it'd be great to see an American on the bike. I think it'd be great if Bradley Smith stayed on the bike. You know, it would be great if Chaz got the opportunity to be on the bike. But I just don't think we're comparing apples with apples. You know, I just think that there's something missing along the line, and I don't know what it is because I don't run Aprilia, I don't run a team, I don't work internally in that department. But if I was running the team, surely you'd want to be putting the best proven rider on the bike. And to go back to what Michael was saying about testing, they also run the risk here of two riders who still have a point to prove, who still want to be on the grid, potentially smashing up a load of bikes.
Exactly. That are only chasing a lap time, Michael. Do you know what I mean? Instead of actually coming in and giving... I know Bradley Smith well enough to know that he will come back in with valuable data, but he will still be chasing the time rather than trying to get a bike that's going to run for 25 laps instead of finding that one lap pace. And unfortunately, Alex Espargaro, because he dare throw his ball to the wall, he makes that bike look so much better than it is at certain times. Aprilia seem to sit on his laurels and think, or rest on their laurels, should I say, and think, this bike's really good. Look at what Alice has done. But then it always falls away in a race. And it just seems that they're almost cocking the start of the season up before it gets going by making two riders try and fight for a place. Now, it happened a few years ago in Pramac Ducati where they put Scott and Petrucci against each other and said, whoever wins this season in U2 gets the factory bike for next season. And that I get, because you're racing and you're chasing for points. That's a carrot that everybody would want. But to dangle that carrot to two lads that are supposed to be testing, it just seems they're going to be taking another step back when they've got a chance to take a massive step forward.
Yeah, and just playing devil's advocate though, who realistically would you put on the bike? I mean, most of these contracts now are completely watertight. So, for example, KTM are rumoured to put clauses in their contract where it's several €100,000 to buy somebody out of that contract. So if you are a Remy Gardner, if you're a Joe Roberts, and you've got a team in place, is Aprilia going to come forward with a relatively unknown rider in MotoGP and say, well, there's $250,000, we'll buy you out the contract? And on the flip side of that, you can look at what they've done with the likes of Miguel Oliveira a couple of years ago, Brad Binder this year. These guys were rookies and they were winning races. Granted, it was on the KTM, but again, you're not comparing apples with apples because Binder was a winner and a podium finisher in Moto2. Joe Roberts hasn't been. Fabio Di Giannantonio has been quick, but he's thrown it away a lot of times as well. You know, so it's a difficult one. I totally get what you're saying, and I'm not trying to, I'm trying to see both sides of the argument. But if you were Aprilia, who realistically would you put on the bike? Because everybody's sewn up, unless you want to get Lorenzo out of retirement and put him back on the bike. You know, so who are you really realistically going to go for?
Yeah, I think to get Lorenzo out of retirement to ride it, they would have to give him 50% shares in Piaggio for a kickoff to make it viable for him. But I will touch... With the Joe Roberts thing, as far as I've understood it and from what I've read in the media and reading a little bit between the lines, he wanted to go and take the ride. He'd already signed the contract with Italtrans, and Italtrans went, listen, mate, if you go and take that ride, we're going to court. And if that's what really happened, then that leaves a sour taste in Italtrans' mouth before the season even starts. Because Joe wanted to go. Now, as long as Italtrans can sit down with him and go, listen, we understand that you're American and you've got Hopkins with you and you thought that maybe going to MotoGP was a good idea, and we accept that, but now you're here and we move on and you're happy to be here, let's get away from that. But if not, there's going to be bitterness in that camp before that even starts as well. So that's another double-edged sword where, Joe Roberts could be sat with Italtrans now, almost defeated before he started the season, which is a shame because I do have high hopes for him. He's a good rider. He's a good rider that will go well.
I fully agree. And as I say, I'm not knocking any of those riders that I mentioned. All I'm saying is if you're taking a Moto2 rider that's a proven race winner or someone that's fought for at least for the top six in the championship, I could understand that. But if you're taking a rider that necessarily hasn't performed week in, week out, you're taking a massive risk. But on the flip side, when people said exactly the same about Fabio Quartararo, when Sepang Racing Team signed him a couple of years ago, everybody said, what the hell are you doing? Like, you're taking this kid, he's won a couple of races, he's inconsistent. And then the guy was a revelation, wasn't he? So it's a difficult situation for Aprilia. I don't think we'll fully know what went on because, as you're saying, you've heard stories about Joe Roberts saying he wanted the ride. I've read reports on Italian press which categorically says that Joe Roberts didn't want the ride, and it was John Hopkins that wanted him to take the ride. So I don't think we're really going to know, are we? Unless we're actually there in the team or we know somebody as an insider, we're not going to know. And I guess that's what makes it different now, isn't it? 10 years ago when riders were linked to teams, you'd have to wait for the fax machine to ring and things to come out. Now with social media, every man and his dog wants to have their two penneth and say what's the truth. And I just hope that Aprilia, whoever they decide, whether it's Bradley Smith or Lorenzo Savadori, I just hope that they pick the right person and that it works out for them, because I don't think any of us on the show tonight or those listening, nobody wants to see Aprilia struggling again. We want to see every manufacturer competitive, right? Well, I certainly do.
Yeah, absolutely. They deserve to be in MotoGP with the calibre and the things that they've done in the past in 125s and 250. It is a natural progression. So yes, I would not want to see him off the grid for 1 second. But you've got a thing now where at the end of this season, end of next season, if George doesn't perform on the Italtrans bike, I guarantee Italtrans will come back and go, we spent all season saying he wanted to be on that Aprilia bike and didn't want to be with us anyway, and vice versa. So it's like you say, it depends what you read at the time, but I just reading between the lines, I think there was definitely communication, and whether it was turned down straight away, I don't think it was, because I don't think it would have made any sort of press. I think that there was conversations and maybe the press have over-exaggerated how far it actually went. But there's definitely been a good conversation. And like you say, if you were John Hopkins and Joe was your rider as such that he's mentoring, you'd have to look at the pros and cons of, if he goes to Aprilia, this is the best chance that Aprilia have to develop the bike and bring it on, so it could become something more towards a KTM bike, that's coming up through the ranks. So that 2021 wouldn't be the worst time to go to Aprilia. Sure. But now we're wait and see with Bradley and Salvadori. I do, not just because I'm English or British or whatever, I do think that Bradley deserves the ride more than Salvadori. Bradley proved that in his time, in the times in the races. Salvadori's got a little bit left to learn. Maybe keep Salvadori as a test rider. If Bradley gets injured, bring him in. But that would be the way around I'd go with it. But I'm also not a team owner anymore, so...
And going back to Joe Roberts and having an American into MotoGP, I do think that we are going to see an American coming up into MotoGP at some point in the future, whether it's going to be, Joe Roberts. Now we've got Cameron Bobier as well as coming over across from Moto America into Moto2, so that's as well going to be really interesting next year.
Yeah, it's turned into a bloody spanking yanking Spanish championship, isn't it now?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm interested to see how Cameron goes, because I know him really well from the work that I've done in Moto America. He's a 5-time Superbike champion. I personally would have loved to have seen Cameron follow Garrett Gerloff and come to World Superbike, because I think, we've now got, first podium finish here in World Superbike for an American since the late, great Nicky Hayden with Garrett Gerloff. And, I said beginning of the season and got shot down in flames when I said that if Gerloff clicks with the Pirelli tyres and he gels with that team and he can overcome the language issue in terms of Italian crew, if he can actually gel and work, I honestly said at the beginning of the season I thought he could challenge for the podium. And several respected people, which I shall not name, got me down in flames and said, no way, he's not as fast as Bobier. I was trackside last year at 3 or 4 Moto America races where Garrett Gerloff was the fastest in every session. And it was absolutely superb. And, coming back to the point with Bobier, I'm a little bit disappointed, but that's more from a selfish point of view, because I would love to have seen what Cameron could do given an opportunity properly in World Superbike. I know he did a wild card with Suzuki, with Yamaha, when Paul Denning was running the team a few years ago at Donington, and he did really, really well. He had a tip off, but he was running top 10, and I think he did really well. But it will be interesting to see how Cameron goes in Moto2. Prior to Joe Roberts, it was Josh Herring, wasn't it, years back? Yeah. Came in and he struggled to adapt to a prototype. And Michael, you've ridden many, many bikes, and as much as Cameron's quick and nobody can doubt that, and everybody can see that, I don't think it's going to be an easy transition to the prototype. It's a completely different way of riding. The only advantage I think that he does have going into Moto2 that Gerloff didn't have coming into Superbike is the tyres, because Moto America run Dunlops. So he is going to know how the Dunlop tyre behaves, which is a massive problem. If you remember Gerloff at the beginning of the year, he qualified, I think, 19th in Phillip Island, got up to 7th place on the first couple of laps. And I remember doing the Paddock show there with Troy Bayliss, and we're all like, bloody hell, he's passed 12, 13 people in the first few laps, until we got to lap 7 and he burnt the tyre out, because it's a completely different way of riding, So that's something that he's going to know, isn't he, Michael, how that tyre works, which is it's a big help. I've just been doing some filming for something else today with an old team boss of mine, and we touched on that about the tyres and things, and how
and how they work. And the advantage, yeah, you're absolutely right. The Dunlops, I'm pretty sure they're all very muchly now from the American series then through to Moto 2. So, yeah, that will give him a good advantage where it's not been there before. We'll have to see where he goes with that. But I've got a question for you, touching on another American rider, and I don't understand why he's not been brought across to Europe again. Is PJ Jacobsen? Well, we're touching on with Garrett. Sorry, I'm doing two questions at once here. But did you hear what Garrett said about the M1 after riding it?
No.
He said that the World Superbike, the R1, was more aggressive than the M1. He said it was so smooth and sweet to ride.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, like, when they initially get on the M1, like you used to see Zarco, and who was the rider who's back in Moto 2 this year? Happy Shirin. They got on the M1 and they did brilliant straight away from the get-go. So a lot of people do say the M1 is very easy to ride when they initially get on it.
Yeah, but to go from a World Superbike and call that more aggressive than a prototype MotoGP bike that's tipping 280, 290 brake horse against your 240 brake horse Superbike, it just shows that even with the controlled electronics that they've got in MotoGP, how well they have got that bike sorted. And yeah, it just amazed me somewhat. But so that's that question. Then sorry, this is directly at Michael, because when PJ come over to England, to Britain, and raced in the British Championship in the Super Stocks, he excelled. He didn't do badly in BSB at all. You couldn't say he had a failed season. You couldn't say it was a Watanabe type season. But then he kind of got sent back to America, and he's never seemed to have come back to Europe and the World Superbike champion or even MotoGP. And I've raced with that kid, so I know what he's capable of. One of my best pictures I've got from racing in my entire career is me and him coming out the last turn at Snetterton, and there's this darkie about 100 metres long, me and him just lighting it up. And then he pissed off into the distance, but I still enjoyed the fact that we got the shot. But he to me, and watching him ride trackside, being super, that kid is that good, and I don't understand why he never managed to get back over to Europe, and you might be able to touch on that.
Yeah, I mean, I know PJ really well. He spent a few years in World Supersport. He finished runner-up in the World Supersport Championship. He won a few races. He did go into World Superbike, albeit not necessarily with the best team at the time. He had a season there and then decided that it was better for him to go back to Moto America. So this year he was lined up with, last year he actually did Moto America in the Supersport Championship. And I think he found that a bit more difficult than he maybe expected. And I think Garrett Gerloff has just underlined this year, again, jumping back to Garrett, that the level in Moto America at the sharp end is fast, and I think it's very easy. People look at World Supersport 300. I know you've got Indy offer on later on, and people look and go, oh, but the level's crap, it's slow, the bikes are slow, the level's not good. And it's like, guys, you go and try and ride it then, because the level is really, really quick. And at the sharp end of any championship, any domestic championship, the riding level will be really, really high. And I think that was a bit of a wake-up for PJ. Again, he did quite well, and he finished third in the championship. This year he signed to ride for the Celtic HSBK Ducati team on the V4 Panigale, and he won first time out at Road America in the Superstock class. And the way that they work in Moto America is that you can ride the Superstock class and then also ride that bike in the Superbike Cup to try and swell the grids, which I think is a great initiative.
Yeah.
And he was running top 6 in the Superbike race. Unfortunately, then in round 2 in Moto America, which was also held at Road America, there was a technical problem, I believe, with the bike. He crashed, the bike caught fire, and he suffered some really, really severe burns, which has kept him out all season. So that's why PJ kind of just disappeared into the vortex. When is he going to come back? So I know he was at a couple of rounds towards the end of the year not racing. But I'm with you. I mean, I'd like to see PJ give it another shot. I'm not sure whether he's going to stay in America next year, given that he's been out all of this year. But he's another rider, 100%, that needs a shot to come back across the year on a decent bike. But Michael, you've run a team, you've been in BSB. Equipment, you've got to be at the right place at the right time, you've got to have the right budget, your face has got to fit, which is probably why you stopped, but jokes aside.
My face has never fit nowhere, but yeah.
No, but you know what I mean? It's not just as simple as twisting the wrist, is it? I mean, there's so many kids around the world that can twist the wrist, and the other thing that frustrates the hell out of me, and I know we're not really focused on talking about World Superbike, but just in general, people are saying, and we talked about it already here, why is there no British riders on the grid in MotoGP? Well, quite simply because the federations in the UK just don't support it. Look in Italy, look in Spain. They've got riders that are fully paid by their federations. The Valencia circuit half pays, I think it's the Aspar team or one of the team. They're putting hundreds of thousands of euros into these teams. And what do we do in the UK?
It's so sad. It's so sad that our government doesn't give any sort of support to motorists and quite a few other sports as well. They don't subsidise any of it, which then puts us straight on the back foot. And I think I mentioned this last time, Ron. In 1993, at Donington Park in the 500 Grand Prix, there were 9 British riders that were on that grid. One of them finished third and one of them finished fourth. And there was, I think John McGuinness was on, David Jeffrey was on. There was 9 British riders. And next year, for the first time since then, there will be no British rider on the grid unless Bradley Smith gets the ride. And it's very sad, but I would rather miss a couple of years. What's going on in Britain now with the way the Moto3 Championship's being run as the British Talent Cup thing, it will start to bring talent forward as long as Dorna commit as much as the MSP, as much as BSB. But you still got to think that it's going to be 5 or 10 years now before we see 2 or 3 Brits maybe on the grid and coming through. There's not a lot of talent. I think that you put Jake on an M1 after watching Jake ride in BSB, Jake will go all right, and he might be the next crossover once he finishes at Petronas in Moto2 next year. But then, where do we go after Jake? So it's going to take 5 or 10 years before we get anywhere near getting a good few riders back on that grid.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head, haven't you? And I think it's a great initiative what Stuart Higgs has done by aligning with the British Talent Cup. That is a great initiative. But these are things that have been happening in Italy, in Spain, in Germany, in France for the last 10 years. So that's it. We're 10 years behind nearly now. That's why
it's unfortunate. We got lucky when Cal went there, and Cal kind of went took the bull out of the horns and got on the podium, and we sat on his laurels a little bit and thought, we'll just send one or two every now and again, and World Superbikes is where Brits are supposed to go. But it's going to be a while. And like I say, Jake Dixon is our next great opportunity because he's now in that circle. He's in the paddock, and Dorna will look after him, I hope. And Jake is plenty fast enough to go well on an M1 Yamaha.
Yeah, fully agree.
No, for sure. And I think that's all we've got time for from Michael for now. But thanks a lot, Michael, for coming on the show. It's been really good to talk to you. It's been much appreciated.
No, absolute pleasure. And let's just hope that, I'm sure I speak for everyone that's been involved in any championship this year. I hope everybody stays safe, and fingers crossed we can get back to normal, if only so that we can invite Michael Howarth on to replace James Toseland as the lead singer in the Two Wheels for Life charity concert at Donington next year. I mean, we need
I'd love to see that.
I can't sing for Toffee, mate.
I'm sure we'd raise a lot of money for charity, which would be a good thing.
Go on, I'll come and do it. Be right.
Yeah, we're right. Thanks again, guys, for having us on, and have a good rest of the evening.
Cheers, Michael. Take care.
You too, guys.
The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Hey everyone, Bradley Smith.
Hi guys, I'm Danny Buchan.
Hi, I'm Tom Sykes.
This is Motorsport Radio.
Yes, definitely. Thank you very much for tuning in. It's the Superbike Show, Motorsport Radio, and it's Wednesday evening. We are still live. My name is Lester. Thank you very much. If you've just found us for the first time ever, we do this quite well, as often as we possibly can do, I suppose, within reason. It's myself here on the show with Jay King. Trystan Finocchiaro is also here as well. And, we've got more live interviews coming up shortly with Brad Jones due on the show very shortly indeed in the next few minutes. So if you've got any questions for Brad Jones, who is the official Motorsport Awards Rider of the Year 2019, but not for long, or maybe not, then you can get your questions to him. Also, Max Cook coming up on the show a bit later, and Indy Offer. You can ask them literally any questions you like on the Superbike Show tonight, because we don't really have that much of a filter. If you send in a question, it's probably likely to be read out on air. Just briefly before we get on to the next interview, that was an interesting chat with Michael Hill, wasn't it, Michael Howarth?
Yeah, good to speak to someone that's got some sort of insider knowledge and can keep me from keeping the mouth shut, or keep my mouth shut a little bit.
Impossible.
Yeah. I tell you what, he never mentioned who's going to run this triumph team in BSB next year.
We are going to get to that a bit later on, yes. We've been hearing rumours, apparently, which are definitely not coming from Michael Howarth, of who may or may not be behind the Triumph factory team in was it Super Sport?
Super Sport, yeah.
But if you do definitely know, or if you are the person who will be running that team, then do get in touch. Hello, good evening. I know there are a few BSB team bosses tuned in, listening live right now. In which case, hello, good evening. Thank you, guys. Right, so it is almost time to get our next guest on, Trystan.
Yeah, we're coming up next on the show. It's going to be really interesting to talk to Brad Jones. Of course, Ty's a Yamaha rider and has been with the Adam team for the past few years now as well.
Certainly, yeah, he's definitely very talented. Is our Brad, and again, if you've we're literally just waiting for him to come on the call. So let's give him a quick.
He might be able to give us a bit of information on the Triumph, right? Mightn't he? Seems he's.
I think he's going to look good on that Triumph next year. Absolutely.
Well, I don't know. I haven't been keeping up to date. Maybe we can ask him with his career. I don't want to say anything just in case I've missed an announcement that he's already made about where he'll be riding. I don't know where he'll be riding next year. But
God, you're sitting on the fence, Lester.
But we can ask him, I suppose. When
he can tell us in person.
Yeah, he can. So Brad Jones coming up very, very shortly. Your main takeaways, though, guys, from what we just heard from Michael Hill, the bullet points. From that, Jay, what did you find interesting?
Interesting about what you were saying with Aprilia, who would be like I said, I agree with Michael. I don't agree what they're doing by making two riders go around and see how fast they can go, basically till they kill themselves. But yeah, if it was my choice, I would have. If Aprilia wanted to succeed, I would have tried to have chucked as much money at trying to get Dovizioso or Cal to come onto the team. But obviously it's money that talks, and it just shows how little confidence a lot of top riders have got, or even, like I said, those Moto2 riders, that they don't want to go there. So obviously we're seeing it kind of, I wouldn't say wreck people's careers, but it's kind of put a back step on their career with like Scott and Sam Lowes. But both of them riders now are slowly starting to gradually build themselves back up again.
Scott's a factory rider at Ducati World Superbikes, and Sam's probably with what
the
you
best team
in Moto2. So
for sure,
has riding for set their career back. There was nowhere else for them to go when that season ended. And to be fair to the pair of them, they both wanted out when it was done. I listened to the podcast that Scott did with Gavin Emmett and Neil Hodgson last night, and I can't repeat what he said, what Scott said about him, because it's only 20-9, but it was and then. So yeah, I think everybody that needs to know that's going to sign you for the ride next year, wherever you may go, seem to understand what's going on at Aprilia, and don't hold it against you for not getting the results. If they've seen that you've tried your arte, the amount of money that them two riders got fined was ridiculous. They were getting fined for not turning up on time, being a minute late into the garage and all sorts of crap.
Blimey.
Yeah, it's a strange one, but I can see that we've got Brad on now, so if Lester comes back in, you can do your interview.
Well, I just thought if Trystan wants to, people don't need to see me and stuff, but
you're absolutely right there.
Yeah. Pipe down, you. Trystan, tell us more. Who have we got on the show?
Yeah, well, now coming onto the show, our second guest of the evening is Brad Jones, of course, British Supersport star. Brad, how are we?
Very well, yourself. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad at all, not too bad. And really excited to have you on. What's keeping you busy during this off-season then?
Not too much, really. Just doing a bit of work to fill the time, just ticking over on the training and bits and bobs. So making up for the food that I haven't been able to eat in the season. So eating what I want for a bit. So yeah, keeping busy, always something to do.
Yeah, of course, aren't we all? And So you've had a pretty good 2021 season as it's gone. Just talk us through it.
Yeah, well, obviously to start off with, was training throughout sort of like January, February, March time, thinking, we even going to get to race this year. So yeah, it was difficult to get going. So we got going in August, and the start was tricky, to be honest. The first 2 rounds were tough. I had a crash in testing at Craner Curbs at the end of the first session of the first official test after lockdown, and it was just one of them, just a typical Craner crash. I thought I got away with the bike lightly, but as we all know, when you go down at Craner, you don't get away with it lightly. And we just, from that point on, the first 2 rounds we just struggled, and we couldn't really put a finger on it. And myself and the team would sort of turning the bike inside out, trying different bits and bobs, and we ended up finding a little issue with the bike, which was holding me back. So we were making all these changes and going nowhere, and I was way off sort of the lap times that I've achieved the previous season. So we just had to delve deeper. But the Appleyard team stuck by me, and we dug in, and we got it sorted. And then we ended the last 4 rounds on a high, in sort of back to the level of where I knew I should be. And then we ended up clawing the points back that I'd missed out on, and we finished second again, which is good, but it wasn't the plan, as you can imagine.
No, of course, and I mean, you say that you struggled at the beginning, and then something sort of turned around. If you don't mind me asking, what was it that you found that suddenly helped you come back to form?
There was just something in the crash that was damaged, which we didn't realise, and we managed to sort of just go through everything, and we found a problem. So it was just one of them things that was affecting the way the bike was handling. And I was sort of scratching my head, really, because I was trying, and then probably as well, I started riding a little bit too hard, sort of overriding. So it was just a big knock-on effect. But as soon as we'd found the little problem, it was like, night and day difference, and away we went. Then we sort of could then carry on the season of how I was expecting it to go, really.
Yeah, no, of course, and I mean, having a teammate like Rory, I mean, seeing how consistent and how strong he was all season. What was it like having a teammate like that, or being up against someone like that?
Rory coming into the team was good. I've always every year that I've been at Appleyards, I've always had super competitive teammates in the likes of Keith Farmer, Jack, and Rory. So. I'm used to a bit of sort of friendly rivalry in the garage. But yeah, Rory coming, I knew he'd be quick. And the R6 is a really nice bike to ride. So I knew for him coming from the Kawasaki straight onto the R6 that he was going to gel with it. And, we'd have some tough competition again. So yeah, it was good. I knew he'd come in and be strong, and we had some good races, and, he rode really strong, and, he got the job done. So fair play to him.
Brad, can I just ask, how many rounds into this season was it before you wanted to park your van up against the door of his camper van so he couldn't get out?
After the first 2, I was like, here we go again. We got another season of this.
Who would you say was more difficult then, Jack or Rory, to have as a teammate?
It's difficult, really. I would say Jack. If we were going to go head to head in a race, head to head, and it was all out, I think Jack would be the harder man to beat because he'd be more aggressive. But both super quick and both super hard to pass. So, but they both ride very differently. So you have to sort of take a different tactic to try and race with them. So, but no, both are really strong, and both now super sport champions. So.
I mean, there was definitely a few situations where, I mean, we could see that you were digging really deep and pushing really hard to win races. I mean, especially like Alton is the example that comes into my mind. How did it feel when you digging that hard and coming out with the result?
Yeah, that result was really sweet because obviously, like I've said previously, the start was a struggle and it wasn't what I expected. So to then turn it around and come back really strong and obviously win the first race was really nice. I go well at Alton anyway. I've got a good track record there. But to roll out there, we set the weekend off well with topping the first FP1. So I knew from that point onwards into the weekend we were going to be strong and I could do it. The first race was good and I had that opportunity there to win and I wasn't going to let it go. So we dug in and we got the job done, which was good.
Would you say sort of topping that session gives you almost like a mental advantage going into the weekend?
Yeah, as you know yourself, if you start the weekend out strong and you're feeling strong, from that point on into the weekend, you're setting off on a positive note, and the lap times you're trying to achieve probably come a little bit easier because you're a bit more relaxed. So that it's always good to top the first FP1 if you can, because it sets yourself up well for the weekend.
Yeah, of course. And you've been obviously with that team for a while now, and having such a strong team behind you, does that put extra pressure on you to get results?
No, not at all, to be honest, because I think it's almost gone the other way, because I come into the team as, how I would have been at the time. I would have probably been, I was 18 at the time. So I went into the team with that, and there was no pressure from them whatsoever. The team, their ethos is to bring on young riders. And if you look back through, you can see that's what they've done the whole way through their sort of racing history. So my sort of role in the team for the first few years at least was just to come in and show natural progression, and they were sort of there to almost sort of mold me, if you like, into what they would want and push me up through the ranks, which is what I believe they've done, and they've done a really good job. So yeah, I thank them for that, and credit to the whole team.
No, it's been brilliant to see you coming up through the likes of. I've been following you since you were back on the 450s, and then coming up through Superstock 600, through Supersport and stuff like that. But for thinking about the future, do you have any? Are there any sort of plans in place? Whereabouts are you in that respect?
Yeah, at the moment things are obviously a little bit more difficult than normal with the added pressure of the pandemic and bits and bobs. You know what it's like, but. I have no real plans in place yet. I want to get something done soon. I'm just looking at my options, really. Do I progress on from Supersport? Do I begin my sort of career now onto 1,000? I think the thing with Supersport the last couple of years, which has been tough for me, is my physical size, weight, and sort of like my shoulders are quite wide. You see, like with the R6 being such a small bike, I can't really tuck in that well. So. Giving away. I remember when we went to the first test at the start of this year at Monte Blanco on a start-finish straight. It was giving away like 8 kilometers an hour every lap down that start straight, just because of my physical size. So that's always been a disadvantage. And then I feel maybe onto a bigger bike that could be an advantage. So I just need to weigh up my options and see what's best, really, and see just try and figure out the best option for me moving forward.
Yeah, sorry, we all went in at once then. I'll go first. Have you managed to have a go of 1,000 yet, Brad?
I have very, very little experience on 1,000. A few years ago, before I went into Supersport, I looked at going into Superstock 1,000. So one guy lent me his ZX10, Andrew lent me his ZX10, and I raced it at Thruxton on a North Gloucester. But other than that is my only experience on 1,000. So you would say I have next to no experience on 1,000. So if that's the route I go down next year, then it's going to be a big learning curve.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Brad, are you looking at options in Superstock 1,000 or going straight to Superbike for next year?
Just looking at both, really looking at all my options: Supersport, Superbike, Superstock. Just seeing what's available, what would be the most wise option moving forward. I've got to look at the next sort of 4 or 5 years as well, to see where it's going to take me. And
get to my age, I'm looking at the next 4 or 5 years to see if I'm still alive. It's a nightmare, honestly. So, have you got an offer in place if you care to take it, say, with McAdam and another Supersport team? And do you think with what's happening next year, with the new rules coming in with the 765 Triumphs and the Ducati V Twins, that if you stayed there and seeing where most of the people have gone into Superbike next year, that maybe one more year in Supersport to go and win it, which I think you're more than capable of on the right bike after watching you for the last couple of years, Chief. Do you not maybe think that could be the option? Stay in Supersport and let the teams come to you rather than you searching for options for 2021, where they'll probably look for you in 2022.
Yeah, it's difficult. I need to weigh up, like, if I was to stay in Supersport, am I going to be in any different or better opposition than what I'm in now? And obviously going into it, I would have to the goal would be to win it. That was the goal this year, really. But
that pesky little Scot.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. Because he won to you this year. He's not British. He's Scottish, and that's it. Come on, back to Scotland.
Yeah. But to answer the question, again, it's just weighing up all the options and looking at the future. I've just got to weigh up: do I make the jump now to get onto 1,000, or do I hold out for another year and just see what that brings? But I'm sure something will come around, and whatever I get on next year, I want to be competitive. So
basically, what we're all trying to find out is, have you had any thoughts with the new Triumph team yet? I have spoke to them.
He can't speak, so they're always going next year. But I was kind of prying just to get a little bit of a feel about your real ideas for next year. But if I was the guy that was looking after you, and not that I know more than anyone else, but I would seriously be saying to you, listen, we've got to sit this out for one more year and let that ride come to you. I've seen your capabilities. They've seen me around the paddock. I talk a lot of crap, but I also know what I'm on about, and I know what I see. If it was me and I was the guy that was guiding you, I'd be saying, listen, mate, let's go and win this Supersport Championship next year, and then a proper ride would come for us. You don't need a mid-pack riding Superbike. You need someone to come to you with a bike that's capable of winning, and I guarantee that from the outshot, you'll be up at the front. But that's just my opinion, and I aren't kissing your ass. I'm just saying from what I've seen and experienced.
Yeah, no, some valid points, definitely. And this is what I've been sort of thinking about since the final round, really. And that's why I haven't rushed into any sort of decision either. And just sort of holding out, waiting, just seeing what's available or not, and getting people's different opinions as well, to be fair. Some valid points for sure, definitely.
Well, you've heard it here first. Michael Howarth is going to become Brad Jones's new manager going into 2021. The question I've got for you: have you thought at all about World Supersport? Because we've seen you do a couple of wildcards. You did with Toth, I think it was, and also with McAdam. Is that something you're thinking about at all?
I have it definitely 100% in the past. I tried to make it happen to go this year. I wanted to be in World Supersport this year, because you'd seen obviously last year, 2019, we did the wild card at Donington with Appleyards, which was really good. Yeah, I really enjoyed myself there. That's why I set up the ride in Qatar for Team Toff at the end of last year. Just again, a bit more experience, get a feeler into the paddock. But I think, as it's been discussed on this show before, it's just the money involved to go to World Supersport. It's just obscene. There's no way I can raise 150 to 200,000 quid. It's just no way. So if it wasn't for the money, I would definitely have been there this year, I would have said. But it's just the money, and it's never ending either. It's not like if you have 1 or 2 good years in World Supersport. It seems to be you need to pay a lot of money every year.
Isn't it? A guy that wins a World Championship in World Supersport, to stay there the year after, has still got to find £9,250,000 quid. It's crazy, isn't it? It's just insane. What it is.
It's just, I just don't understand it. It's like, surely there's got to be, there's got to be an incentive for especially Brits and all the other nationalities to go there. But when it costs that sort of money to do it, then no one's going to do it. So, but maybe with the new sort of rules and regulations that are coming into the Supersport class, maybe that might change it, and there might be a bit more backing from the manufacturers themselves, which would be good.
Yeah, which is what is needed over there. I'm not speaking out of turn, and it's no secret that when you go to World Superbikes or World Supersport, after you've been there for 3 years, your team gets subsidised by the championship. You get your tyres paid for, your entries paid for. There's things that get paid for, your transportation and things. So to then come and ask a rider, right, what have you got? Forget about your talent. Give us 200,000 quid and you can go and ride what you like. It's a bit of a piss take, really, when any man that's running the top 10 of a championship then goes and has to find that sort of money. I can understand maybe 20,000, 30,000 euros to help cover the costs of certain things, his own travel and things, because at the end of the day, motorsport is a business. But to be asking a man that's just won a championship for 200 grand is just an absolute outrage. End of.
Yeah, it's just extortionate, and it ends up coming down to the teams want your money, not you, not your talent.
Yeah, not you and not your talent. And then it's always the way then that you feel like he puts a barrier up between you and the team straight away because you don't feel like you're getting what you've paid for.
Exactly.
And it just never works. It doesn't really work that way. And I know that the economic climate is hard, but explain to me how, if you have a rider that can bring £200,000 to a team, why can't that team go and find that £200,000?
Exactly. Yeah, there's questions like that to be asked, but it seems to have been this way for the last few years at least, and it's a shame, and that's why I think we're now seeing a lack of Brits coming up through World Supersport into
World Superbike, MotoGP. Yeah, you'll see yourself, like we were talking before, that you will, once the likes of cycling people have gone from World Superbikes, you won't see that British domination anymore.
No, it's like a drought.
Not money in the UK anymore to take you to a World Superbike team.
No, exactly. There's a drought coming, definitely, for British riders. But like I've said, maybe with the Supersport changing, if the manufacturers can plough a bit more money into the sport and help better fund it, then maybe we will see some more British talent come up through, because there's plenty of it. It's just using it and getting it in the right places.
Is this something that, because obviously we've spoke about it in World Supersport quite a bit, we had Gino on last week and he was talking quite a lot about it. Is this something that, from your experience anyway, translates into British Supersport as well?
What, in terms of cost in British?
Yeah.
Obviously, British Supersport, is expensive to do, engines and tyres and everything. But yeah, it's difficult. I think people come up through now. The route seems to be, maybe Junior Supersport, Talent Cup, and then whether you go Stock 6 or Supersport, it's a different route. But to do Supersport on your own, as a privateer, would be a lot of money, and to be competitive in British Supersport under the current regulations, it is quite expensive, with electronic engines, tyres, like I say. So, yeah, it's a difficult one, but I don't know how the rules will be set out with the new rules that are coming into place for the next year and beyond.
I have no qualms in let's say a dad and a lad team in Supersport that are going to put, like you say, with it the cost of the bike, the tyres, the entries, and all that, and may cost them. Let's just put a figure down of $100,000 a year. It may not cost that, it may cost more, cost less. But then if a team come to that said lad and said to their father, if you give me $75,000 next year, we will run your lad and we will run him amazingly. That I have no qualms with, because it's a domestic championship, and you can sit there and you can write the figures out and think, okay, that kind of works, and that's. Instead of me having to do this, we can give my lad the best possible opportunity. It's when you get above that £100,000 mark for a super sport championship that bugs me, that these teams are international and they're getting subsidised so heavily by, I suppose it's Dorna now, the people that run World Superbikes, that then you think, are you actually taking the piss a little bit here? Do you know? I don't.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't mind costs being covered. I do know that teams should be out there, but they do find their own sponsorship. But there should be a limit or something set on it. It's just something that's bugged me for a year or two. And I've run teams, I've failed with teams, I've had success with teams, I've done all sorts. But yeah, you're not going to get Brits flying off into World Supersport or World Superbikes now if you've got to take that amount of money with you, because it's just not going to be there. And like you said, Brad, that the way that they're trying to make Supersport now is a really good idea, that it may bring the cost back down, that if you go to World Supersport and they're asking for £100,000, then if you are that calibre of rider that's won a British Supersport title and you want to move on to World Supersport, you can take your personal sponsors with you. That's 5 guys lobbing £20,000 at you, and that's doable and almost sustainable, because with talent, it brings the advantages of sponsors wanting to come and sponsor you and look after you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. And unless the cost to run in the World Championship classes, unless these costs change, we will 100%, as we discussed, see a drought of British riders coming up through. Especially through the World Supersport route, etc., into Moto 2. So hopefully things change because we need some more Brits to come up through. As I said,
I need you to go there because I'm going to take you over there myself. It's only 15%. Don't worry, I'm cheap as chips.
15%. We'll do a deal on 5.
Sorted, boy.
Well, there we have it confirmed then. Well, I think that's all we've got time for from you, Brad. But thanks a lot for coming on. It's been brilliant to talk to you and about your season and about funding and everything. So, thanks a lot for coming on.
Yep, no worries. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
No worries. And we're coming up next then. We've got some even more interviews coming.
Join the conversation. Contact the show on Twitter, on Facebook, and on our website, Motorsport Radio.
It's the Superbike Show. It's Motorsport Radio. My name is Lester. Thank you very much for tuning in. That was another fascinating discussion. And thank you very much. We've got a packed show this evening on the Superbike Show. So we're kind of busy, sort of literally as one person leaves, another person comes in. And coming up next, in just seconds, we've got young rider Max Cook, who'll be on the show imminently. So if you've got any questions for Max, just briefly to talk about what we just heard from Brad. But I think, Michael, did you cut him off when he said he was talking to the person who was behind the Triumph factory team? It sounded like you almost cut him off talking about it then.
I think he wanted to shut up about it, didn't he, more than anything else?
Basically.
Yes.
Did he almost let something out of the bag?
He wanted to.
Okay.
Do you really think? Yeah.
I think you made it slightly awkward for him.
Okay.
Yeah. Without any knowledge whatsoever, and I can quite easily swear on that. Yeah, I don't know anything. I will do now. I'm a manager. As soon as I get off here, I'm going to phone him up in 10 minutes and claim my 5% of that deal.
We will get to. Hopefully, we'll have a chance to get to talk about the rumours swirling around. There's a couple of names who it could be. A couple of team names. Someone suggested Halsall Triumph. I don't think that will be a reality, to be honest. But
it's 1 minute past 9. You've already said Halsall. Really, Lester? Really?
Haven't you got a dog to walk? Anyway, to be honest, we've had such a packed show. We've not even talked about anything really about what Michael Howarth was filming illegally today, or what he was doing involving Yorkshire puddings. We've not gotten to talk about that. We've not gotten to talk about other bits of news. MotoGP as well. Yeah, Jesus, that was the thing. Because we have a load of guests, and Trystan, please introduce for us our next guest on the Superbike Show.
Yeah, coming up next, Max Cook. He's been out in Europe representing Great Britain. Max, how are we doing? I think you might be muted a bit, Max.
There we go.
Sorry, there we go. No worries.
All that preparation, Max.
All that. Oh no, bottling it.
But no, how are we then, Max?
No, I'm great, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you keeping during? What's keeping you busy?
I'm doing all right at the minute. Obviously back. Got a long winter really. Just all in all, I'm just trying to find a ride. To be honest, the British talent team, due to COVID and that, and budget and what have you, they said they couldn't do anything for me next year, which is a big shame. So, and it's actually quite difficult to find something this late in the year, as everyone's sorted out for the 21 season, and no one's got room for me in Britain. So it's getting difficult, but I'm just keeping high hopes, to be honest.
Sure, of course, and we'll definitely touch on that as we get later on in the show. But for anyone who doesn't know you, of course, I mean, we've been following the grassroots, but for anyone who's just following the sort of top level, just talk us through how you got started in racing and how you got to where you are now and where you are now.
So I started when I was 6-7 years old, and I started off in the Cool Fab Racing Championship. Through mini motos, and like 50cc metric kits. And I made my first step up on the big tracks when I was 12 in the Aprilia Super Teams on the old 125s. And then I went to British Moto 3. Then I got picked up by Dorna and did Red Bull Rookies for 2 years, and I did the British Talent Cup program. And then I graduated from that and went to Junior World Championship with the British Talent team. And here I am now. So, all in all, I think I've had a pretty good career so far. So I can't complain.
No, absolutely, and we're definitely not cutting it short here. But this year's been, I think, up and down is a good way of putting it. How do you feel it's been for you?
I think when most riders say they've had a roller coaster season, I think Max has had the most roller coaster season out of anyone.
To be fair, I've had a bit of a shocker, but then at the same time, I've had the best season ever. So what happened? I had such a good start to the year. Obviously, with everything going on, it kicked off in July. Was there fighting up in the front group, which for me and for a British rider was quite a big thing actually. So
I think the Portimao race was really good, weren't it?
Yeah, I got lap record in Portimao, beating Fabio Quartararo's record. That's something pretty special. So, I was so happy with that. And then it all went downhill in round 3, and I broke my pelvis in 2 places, which was quite a big thing. Obviously, I was in a lot of pain.
Have you seen the crash, Trystan?
Yeah.
To be fair to you, Max, most big Moto3 crashes normally involve quite a few people, but yours was on your own and yours was pretty spectacular, to be fair.
No, thank you. Well, I've got to get credit somewhere. I'm just happy it was on the TV, to be honest. Flying into shot upside down,
Yeah, how you landed, it didn't look pretty, to be fair.
No, and if you've seen the video, I was just in the gravel kind of wanting to get up, moving it to try and make sure it was okay. And I was convinced it wasn't broken or anything. And they dragged me to the hospital, the team did. And it's a good job they did, actually, because it turns out it was broken. And then I pulled it back together. I rode a month later in Aragon and got a top 5 finish with that broken hip. So I had a pretty good recovery, to be fair. I've got Nigel at FS3 Racing. He helped me a lot with my treatment. I had a pretty good year, and I just finished off a couple of weeks ago in Valencia. It was pretty up and down, actually, thinking back on it. It was good.
Now, how are you now? How's the hip?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't notice it anymore.
Okay.
I don't notice it now. It's been good.
Well, that's good to hear. With focusing on because obviously there's not many British riders out where you've been riding. Just tell us, what's it like racing at this level?
It's a lot harder than I ever expected. I think all the kids are so fast. Obviously, they're the fastest kids in the world, and I don't think people in England actually realise how fast they are. The TV doesn't do it justice. You watch and you think, oh yeah, that's easy, I'll do all that anyway. And you actually see him when you're on track and you think, how on earth is he doing that on this bike? And it's just difficult as well how close it is. I can pull in the garage and they say, oh Max, 0.3 off. It's like, oh yeah, but you're 24th on the grid.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? How does that even happen?
We watched the Moto3 races, and you can tell, on the last few laps, there's so much racecraft involved and having to be so much on the right part of the track at the right part of time. Does it feel like that when you're riding?
It is just racecraft and luck and scary. So many emotions on that last lap. You go through it and you see the last lap flag, you think, oh no,
it's time to go now.
Here we go. But yeah, it is such a good race, Moto3, and I do try to encourage more people to watch the junior stuff as well as Moto3.
Yeah, the Moto3 and the World 300 Supersport are definitely the best races to watch. I mean, those last few laps in either of those races are just, well, most of the time just carnage on the last few laps.
And how much of that is strategy, and how much of that is just balls to the wall?
I think, to be fair, like 95% of it's just balls to the wall. Yeah, I think there is.
That's what it looks like.
Riders, obviously, you got normal, consistent people who are at the front every time, and they're just class riders who can get it right every time, and they're the special ones, I guess. But I think the rest of the pack, the other 25 of them are just all lunatics.
And because one thing I always find quite interesting, a lot of people talk about the fact that it's the style of racing is different, and it's different racing in Europe compared to racing in UK. What in your opinion, are the differences?
To be honest, the main one's just how hot it is.
Yeah.
It's like 40 degrees, you got your leathers on, and you're in a big group of people, and it's just hot as anything. I had to adjust to it quite a lot. Another thing is just how professional it is. It's literally, where I was in CV, it's just MotoGP for kids. Like, there's just all the big Arctic lorries. They have all of the MotoGP teams. It's just so professional, and they do it properly over there. And you can't.
Have you learned Spanish yet? Then can you speak fluent Spanish yet or not?
No. I was fortunate. I'm fortunate that my team spoke English.
Oh, good.
Because I'd be pretty useless at that.
What's it been like then moving? I mean, because obviously you came up through the Talent Cup and then into the talent team. What's it been like moving through that scheme?
It's been quite exciting, to be honest, because I was in, I guess, the guinea pig year of like the British Talent Cup. It was like the first year of all the tent, and the first year of having Dorna involved with anything British that I've seen. So you're running at the front, and I guess I was just quite hopeful and just excited to be running at the front and seeing all these big names like Alberto Puig, just that he knows my name. Really, that top boss of Repsol Honda knows my name and is talking to me about things, and then but then to talk to me and say, Max, we want you in the junior talent team for next year, was probably one of the biggest moments of my life.
So you've got, I would say, 3 big memories. Which one do you like the most? The Portimao 7th place, the Red Bull Rookies podium, or winning the Standards Championship a couple of years back? Which one was the biggest one for you?
I mean, biggest one for me was Red Bull Rookies podium. That for me was like a childhood dream, and also how much I wanted the trophy, like how much I wanted just to be on the podium.
Where's that trophy now then, Max? Is it on top of the fireplace? Yeah.
That's got a prime spot at it. That's by far like my biggest achievement, I think.
Yeah, I could totally understand.
Yeah. But obviously all those things like winning the championship, getting into Red Bull Rookies at the selection event, they're all just huge moments for me, which I guess makes me love what I do.
For people who don't know, tell us about like the selection process for the Red Bull Rookies, because we've seen obviously Eddie's got in it this year. So yeah, what is the selection process like?
The selection process is got this atmosphere about this tense, kind of nervous but exciting atmosphere about which I've never experienced anywhere else. So you go there for 2 days at this random test track, and there's all these kids from around the world who you've never seen before. You don't know how fast they are, and you're just there really nervous. You get out on track on these old bikes which you've never ridden before.
Were they Metra kits when you did it, or were they Moto3 bikes?
They were Metra kits when I did it. Yeah, they were big wheel Metra kits, and they was probably like 15 years old when I did them.
Yeah. I think they were from the original year.
Yeah, they were so old, and you get on one, the bars were bent, or brakes didn't work, or suspension bottoms out. It was an experience just to ride the thing, but to ride it fast with all the pressure, because you got spotters on like each corner. It's really nervous, and it's a knockout stage. So at the end of the day, they get you up the top. They just call out a list of names, and your heart just beating so fast because waiting for them to say your name. And the man, Peter, at the top, when he said my name that I'd got into the Rookies Cup, was just one of the best days of my life.
Cheers. I've got my quick fire questions if you want to go, unless you've got any more questions, Trystan.
I think we should talk a little bit about your plans for 2021, because I mean, you did mention it at the beginning that that's what your focus is on now. Are you looking to stay in Junior Worlds?
A part of me wants to, I'd love to stay in Junior World Championship, simply because I know I can do good next year. I know how to ride the Moto3. I've got so much experience with it now. And next year, you've got John McPhee, who's in Moto3 at the minute, and it's his final year next year because of age limit. So he'll definitely be moving out. Therefore, there's room for a Brit in the World Championship in 2022. Yep. We got Scott Ogden in it at the moment. Who I don't know exactly what his plans are, but I assume he's got another year in the CEV. But if I'm there too, and I can run at the front, I know I can do a really good job next year. Which is a shame, because the only ride offers that I've got are over €100,000. I can't afford that at the moment. I mean, my dad's struggling to pay off the mortgage as it is, so €100,000 for a year of racing is just out of reach.
If you don't mind me asking, that ride with British Talent Team, that's a free ride, is it not?
Yeah, everything's free. Everything's paid for. I can leave my wallet at home. They pay for the food. They pay for flights. Just everything. It is pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, and it's a brilliant scheme to have. I mean, to bring British talent up and through, and then obviously the problem is, once you get that, then the funding needs to come from somewhere. But it would be brilliant to see you have another crack at it, because, like you say, you've had a really good year this year. I mean, it's been a year where you've started pushing towards the front, and it would be good to see you sort of consolidate on that and then go even stronger next year.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think I've done a really good job this year. I see with the lap record, a top 5 finish, proving that there is British talent, and then for them to cut me loose so early is a bit gutting. And but I'm just obviously trying to stay, put my head up, high hopes, but that everything happens for a reason. Then I'll get on to better things, hopefully, for next year.
And to your knowledge, is there no sort of schemes or ways of funding staying out in World Championship level?
Not that I know. I think if you have €100,000, then you can get in the championship. But I don't have that kind of money. Nowhere near that kind of money.
To be honest, Max, we can see you've not got that sort of money, because it looks like you're living in a sauna at the minute, kid.
Well, what can I say? I've been demoted to the shed. Which I don't mind. But yeah,
I thought you were at the mother and father's in the sauna, and you'd put all the clothes in there to iron them out while you're having a sauna. I thought, that's fair play, that boy. You're doing all right there.
Clever. I'm a genius in my own ways, you see. So, yeah.
It is great to see you back, and looking ahead to next year, whatever it holds. So, I won't do what I think we did earlier and ask you who you've already been maybe talking to about rides, just in case, for whatever reason it doesn't happen. But I suppose we'll just say best of luck, Max, really. Just before we let you go and finish the rest of your sauna, I guess, Jay, you have prepared some quick fire questions for Max.
Yeah, well, these are actually meant to be for Brad, but it doesn't matter. Max has got a little less experience, but we'll go with the questions anyway. Right, Max, if you had the choice of a MotoGP race win or a BSB title, which one would you choose?
GP race win.
Ooh, here's the second one. Gino said that as well. For training, are you more of a cycler or a runner?
Cycler.
Cycler, is that on the roads, yeah?
Mountain biking and road, yeah.
Yeah. All right. If you ever had the opportunity, would you ever go race the TT or the Northwest, or is that a big no-no?
I would love to do it if I had 2 lives. If I had 2 lives, I would do it 100%.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Away from racing, what is on top of your bucket list? You're a bit young for this, but is there anything you're dying to do?
Well, you see, my girlfriend's next to me. Can't really say what I want to say.
Oh.
Tomorrow's headline, maxcooksingle.com.
Well, all right, we'll skip that one then. Any track in the world, which one's the one you're like most forward to riding in your career?
I think I'd love to ride Phillip Island in Australia.
Yeah, I think that's most people. So normally that one or Laguna Seca, people I would like to say. Probably a bit further on in your career. If there was a Moto2 contract on the table or a World Superbike contract, which one would you choose?
Moto2.
Moto2? Yeah, all right, fair play. Can you remember your first ever tarmac race win, and can you remember the people you were racing against?
Yes. My first proper tarmac race win, I was racing with Dan Jones, Storm Stacey, Charlie Atkins, Thomas Strudwick, Jamie Davis. I guess most of those kids now are in Supersport, aren't they?
Yeah. Would that have been in the like Fab novice class, I guess?
Yeah. Novice class.
Well, next one. If you could go back to any era of racing, so MotoGP, World Superbike, what era would you have liked to have raced in? Who would have you liked to race against?
I would like to have raced with like Kevin Schwantz.
Yeah, that's the same. That's the same thing. Yeah, everyone says, why do you want to ride those 500cc 2-strokes? They were death traps.
Oh no, that's why I want to ride one. That's what everyone's going on about.
You've been on a few track days on 1,000. Did you enjoy it? I see you've been out with Troy Corser and that, haven't you?
Oh, I love the power of 1,000. Oh, you can't beat it. I love it.
Yeah, well, that's pretty young. Is that legal to be on 1,000 at your age? Yeah.
Right. Well, I was 15 when I went on the Superbike.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, they were great.
And this
avoiding the question there a little bit.
So it wasn't legal, basically.
Yeah.
Anyway, this was going to be a question for Brad, but it's probably a better question for you. The future of racing. Do you like the looks of the electric bikes? And have you ever had the chance to get to ride one yet? Or do you think you would enjoy riding one?
Never got to ride one, but they do look fun.
Yeah.
I feel like they'll be like a toy and not like a motorbike. That scares you. You know what I mean?
Do you think you'll miss the sound of the bikes and things like that if bikes do eventually go to auto electric?
Yeah, I reckon it wouldn't be the same, would it?
Nah, it won't be. All right, cheers, Max, and they're all my questions from me today.
Oh, nice one. Cheers.
Right then, well, there you go. Good questioning there. Sorry, caught me a little unawares. I was doing something else. I was actually just checking some comments just to see, because I know there's a few team bosses tuned in, listening to the show, and well, it seems like a few.
Say hello, Max.
Yeah, I was.
Hey guys, send me an email.
Exactly. So there you go. But maybe, just maybe, we'll see you riding again, doing something in Europe or maybe wherever.
Just a quick thing, if Max is struggling to find a ride, I'm looking for some more team riders for my Free Tech race series. So if Max is interested... Yes, hi Hudson. If Max is interested in doing some endurance racing, he's more than welcome to come join my team.
Yes, no, I'll be there. I
think you might have to pay him for that.
Yeah, I know. I think there's probably quite a few teams that might be interested in him. Have you heard of the Free Tech series, Max? Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Of course he has.
I went to Wilton Mill. I did.
Oh, yeah, I think I remember seeing... Yeah, you were there because Eddie was riding, weren't he?
Yeah, I went there and... Charlie Atkins and Eddie were riding and it looked so fun.
Oh, mate, we did the Mallory Park race. It's just absolute carnage. 100 bikes on the grid there was. Ugh.
No way. Yeah, that looks fun. I think I'll do that next year.
Yeah, come do that.
And also, don't forget Fab Racing as well, the occasional pit bike race or whatever you want to do there.
Well, as long as you don't come do any 140 races, he's totally fine.
No, I'll bring my 150. I'll be out your way.
So excellent to hear from you, Max, and maybe we'll talk again over the winter or early in the new year after you've announced a superstar big ride somewhere doing something glamorous and
I hope so. No, thank you for having me.
No problem.
It's been great.
Cheers, Max.
Cheers, see ya.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Max. The Superbike show will continue right now.
The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Hey everyone, Bradley Smith.
Hi guys, I'm Danny Buchan.
Hi, I'm Tom Sykes.
This is Motorsport Radio.
So, brilliant to hear from Max Cook. It is on the show. It's Lester here. Hello and good evening. I knew there was going to be some sort of thing happening. Still on the show with us is Jay King. Jay, it's been a fast-paced show so far. We've not really had much time to talk.
Before we go on to anything else, we were talking about singing earlier. Michael, what is your go-to karaoke song?
My go-to karaoke song would obviously Steps. Shut up. That's just you, Lester. Steps, I need steps. No, mine would be Suspicious Minds by Elvis Presley, obviously.
Oh, very good. And do you have to have a few drinks before you get on the mic, or is it straight on?
Absolutely cartwheeling, mate.
Yeah, same.
Not be singing. There'd be no chance. Go on, what's yours? We need to know yours.
I know, Busted.
No, it wouldn't be Busted, actually. It's Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi.
Bon Jovi.
Tristan?
Those who name I dare not speak. Oh, he's after the watershed now. I could have a go at fucking ring it up. Yeah. Go on, Tristan, what's yours?
I can't say I have one, but I think the one time I did, I was a little bit not right in the head enough to get up on there. I think it was You're Beautiful by James Blunt.
Oh, jeez.
I was joined by two people. I wasn't just on my own.
And Lester, yours would be something about roller coasters being high, tall. Or...
What are you talking about? It's either AC/DC or the Bee Gees. Just saying.
AC/DC or the Bee Gees. You could not pick two different genres.
Hey,
really?
Don't put me in a box.
Back in black. Yes. Oh, that.
Just whatever. But I won't torment. I won't torment you with my singing abilities, even though I have been singing quite a lot this week, mostly to the new AC/DC album, which I actually purchased with money for the first time in like 10 years. I actually bought an album. Who does that instead of just like streaming it? Anyway, that's besides the point.
Yeah, why don't you stream it like a normal person?
Because I wanted to respect music and the fact that these guys are like in their mid-70s. Well, it's not natural.
Before we get back to about this, the very last album I bought was online and it was Spotify and it cost me about 11 quid. And it was an Noel Gallagher album, the one he brought in 2017. So I'm not really au fait with kind of buying music anymore, but I don't really know how it works. I'm probably as old as you.
Oh, whatever yeah, that's right.
I was a damn sight taller and a damn sight better, to be fair.
Your hair dye's running a bit.
Is it?
Yeah. There you go.
I thought it would.
We're talking about what the kids are listening to nowadays. We have our next guest coming up very shortly on the show. It will be I forgot who we're up to now. We've done Max Cook, we've done Brad, and we've done Michael. It must be Indy Offer, who's coming up very shortly on the show. Just before that, though, I do want to tell you that I have been scouring messages that have been flooding in, a couple of them, on the show so far this evening. Hello to Ian Hopcroft, who was seemingly very interested in what Brad Jones had to say, and he responded by saying something along the lines of he would love to run Brad, but no stock 1000 Ducati, I'm afraid. Well, maybe, I don't know.
Do you know Ian Hopcroft is, don't we? Do you need to explain that to the viewers who Ian is?
Yeah, he's the Oxford Ducati, what's it? Motor Rapido.
Yes, that beautiful little bald bonce of a guy that works with Wilf and kind of basically runs a team for Wilf. Yes. Yeah, he would have loved to run him, I'm guessing. But did they not say they were going to run a second rider next year? We're not waiting for a second announcement. Or has Wilf spilt the budget for the second rider on red wine and treats for his wife because she now knows that he's going to run in BSB for at least another 2 years?
There was rumours because it was Greg Haynes who originally said that Tommy wouldn't be with them, or they're going to get a second rider. So
yeah.
Well, I'm that bombshell. If Greg said it, I'm going.
Well, no, he said that they were talking to another rider, which is technically true. And since that Steve Moore didn't come out and say, "Oh, that's a load of nonsense, we're not getting rid of Tommy," then we all presumed it to mean that they are actually talking to another rider, a second rider in the team.
But again, did you see on Wilf's Facebook that he had to buy his missus a massive gift when he's re-signed with Oxford Products for that? I think he said 2-year deal.
I think I saw it on Twitter.
Yeah. Hello, babe. Guess what? This is for you. I'm going to be busy for the next few Saturdays. How long is it for the next few Saturdays? 2 years, darling. I'm going outside.
All right. So, incidentally, by the way, if you don't already know, Tommy Bridewell was confirmed this past week to remain at Oxford Products Ducati Racing. I think it was announced on the BSB website. Well, I read it on the website to say that he's returning back to the team.
I sent it to you today, Lester.
You did, and I read that thinking, well, I didn't even know he'd left, so I don't know how you return.
He signed for Aprilia in MotoGP, and they pissed him off. So he went back to wherever it is down near Stoneends that he lives, and phoned Wilf up and begged him for the job back. And Wilf said, "Okay, as long as you buy me missus a gift, you can come back and ride for us." Apparently, allegedly. Keep it alleged.
Sounds about right. Not that we get ourselves involved in heavy rumours and discussion and debate here on the show.
No, we've never done that, have we?
Who's running the Triumph team next year again, Lester?
Well, apparently, it may or may not be Simon Buckmaster. That's the hot rumour that we're hearing on on the one of the live streams. We're all over the place at the moment. After we've ruled out it might probably not be Hal Saul, obviously, because he's. I don't think anyone's heard any rumblings of him wanting to get back into the paddock, or maybe they have, and I've just not heard them.
Maybe it could be Colin Wright. He's been out the paddock a few years now.
Running a team? I mean, as in like owning it, maybe? I don't know. I mean...
Colin's far too intelligent to spend his own money.
Exactly,
he spends other people's.
Exactly.
How dare you?
I mean, he'll look after other people's money, maybe, but I don't know. But that's just a name that I've heard being floated around. Simon Buckmaster. I don't know. It kind of sounds about right. I don't know. I don't know why he... I don't know. It's just a rumour. But have you heard anything different? Fit. Possibly. Have you heard anything concrete? Or, Simon, if you are indeed listening, then set the record straight if you'd like to. On this show, if you like. You're more than welcome to come on. But that aside, anyway, we have loads more still to come in the show and not much time to do it. So let's shut up and welcome our next guest. Trystan, who is it?
Well, yeah, coming up next on the show is World Supersport 300 rider for 2020 and 2021. It's going to be now for the Scuderia Maranga Racing team. Indy Offer. Indy, you're looking like you're in somewhere a little bit Mediterranean now.
Yeah, I can't complain at all. I'm in sunny Spain. I'm in Valencia.
Oh, what are you doing out there?
I'm just trying to get as much training in as possible, to be honest, because of course this year hasn't been the best for trying to train. So as much training as I can do, might as well.
I'm sure you're at Ribera, of course, because that's open up again now, isn't it?
Yeah. No, Ribera's perfect. We've got a garage there, so yeah. No, it was good. I was riding with Lorenzo Fallon. He's just joined Moto3 this year, so yeah, no, it was perfect.
Oh, awesome! And for those who don't know who you are, just talk us through how you got started in sport, and how you got to where you are, and where you are now.
So it's not a very long story. I started in the end of 2017. My dad used to do a bit of club racing, and he said, "Do you want to give it a go?" So it was pretty much bought a little Ninja 300 and gave it a go. And then the next year, I found myself in BSB, and it was an interesting year. It wasn't so bad. I think the best position finish was 11th. So it wasn't awful. It was a good first year, and then the next year we bought a 400 because they seemed to be a little bit faster, and it was a difficult year with the 400 in terms of we had a bent bike for a lot of the rounds. I'm still confused why. No one really understood why, but it was one of those things. It was racing. It's how it goes, and so we finished that season with the best result 6th, and thought, why not? I had the opportunity to go to Worlds. I turned out to be the youngest Brit to go to Worlds, so it was just a decision that we made. And yeah, this year has been my first year in World Superbikes. So
you've only actually been racing for 3 years, and you're already out at World Championship competing with the best.
Yeah, so this year was the end of my 3rd year. It was a strange year, but yeah, 3 years riding.
No, that's right. And you touched on that you had a bent bike at, you say, some of the rounds. How many rounds was that?
The bike worked at the start of the year at Silverstone, and then we got into a small crash. I got hit from behind, and we think that's where our problems stemmed from. And then we couldn't really figure out why it was all going wrong, so we're pretty sure we had a bent bike from there on out. But then we got it fixed at Thruxton for some reason. It just magically all went together, and then ever since then it just didn't work. So about 80% of that year was just bent bike. So
well, moving on from that, I mean, you've moved up now into a Super Sport 300 class. I mean, how's it been?
It has been tough. Weirdly, not as tough as I thought it would be, and that's I'm not sure why. I started the year with a broken ankle, so I missed the first 3 rounds of the year, which put me on the back foot just a little bit more. But it's been very good. As I say, it's been difficult because the way the world riders and European riders ride compared to us is very different, and changing and adapting to the way they do things is a thing we have to do. But towards the end of the year, it started to get a lot better, and having a team that are just all they want to do is help you and see you progress, and having teammates as well it makes everything so much easier.
Yeah, when you say that they ride differently, what's the main differences then?
It's weird. I think it is because of the tracks. They've got Aragon and Jerez, and we've got Alton Park and Cadwell, so they're a little different. And you can ride different on them circuits.
Sure.
They're just so late on the brakes and so early on the throttle. It's stupid. But as I say, they've got the runoff, and they've got these super wide sweeping corners that you can use that style. And then trying to use a British style of high corner speed and not using so much doesn't work on them tracks. You've got to change completely to how they do it.
No, for sure. And I mean, from my experience as well, because obviously, I mean, I rode in the class a year before you did. I mean, the main difference is just the space you have. I mean, how much track you have to use, you don't realise. And in fact, when Mika Perez came down to BSB, last year, 2019. He did like the last round at Brands. I was riding behind him for a good few laps, and you could see that coming out a lot of corners, he was just running out of road everywhere because he wasn't used to having tracks so narrow. So it works both ways. I mean, you go over there and all of a sudden you've got loads of room, and then they come over here and all of a sudden they've got no room as well.
Yeah, no, completely. Like the curbs are almost the whole length of the straight from towards corners. So you've got all this space to use. It's so weird to have that amount of space.
For sure. I mean, I remember Howarth's a great example for it because and I would say you spend sort of 90% of the lap actually on the paint rather than on the tarmac.
Completely, and Aragon as well. All the circuits really, you're just constantly on the curbs. And if you're not on the curbs, then you're losing seconds from your lap. So
for sure. Was it what you expected in your first year at world level?
No, I don't think anyone could really go into it, expecting, getting what they expected from it. But it wasn't. It was a good expectation. It wasn't me being completely blown out of the water. If you know what I mean. Everyone, sure. Of course, everyone came past, and it wasn't an overwhelming. I don't know how I'm going to keep up with them. It was more of they're fast, but how do I get to that speed? If you know what I mean. It's not like you can't do it. It's just how.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, and I mean, for those who don't know as well, because obviously it's a very different class as well in many respects. It's a very unique class, and for those who don't know, the qualifying system is very different as well in the way that there's quite a few riders on the grid. I don't know how many on now, but I think it's up to
56 last year. I think it was
56 riders, and then the top 30 compete for spaces on the grid, and then you've got a last chance race where the top 6 then go and line up on the last 6 spots on the grid. So it's quite a unique way of doing things. I mean, no other championship is like that. What's it like running in that system?
It's great because just being in the world class as well, you just get so much track time in general. So that's the best bit. But that system in general, it works quite well because you get a race no matter what. But the one thing is if the top riders crash or they're just not getting on in the free practices, you end up racing in the last chance race with them.
Yeah, I can see.
So I remember in Catalonia it was Scott Ogden, Sofoglu, and I think Murples and a few other riders, De La Vega and that, who all finished in top 12 in the championship. So it is a really good concept, but it's difficult as well when then riders do come into it.
For sure, and obviously, I mean, it also means that there's a hell of a lot of bikes out on track. What's it like riding against so many just bikes everywhere?
It's good, but it's completely different. The Europeans are so confident with what they do, and because they ride in such big groups as well, you have to be in that group. They're riding in groups of 16 to 18 constantly. And if you're not in that group of places like Aragon and that, you're losing 2 to 3 seconds. So it's good, but the problem is you've got to be within the same lap times and speed as those riders to be with the group. So it's good, but when you're not at that speed just yet, it does make it a lot harder because you're already losing a second and a half, 2 seconds to slipstream.
What do you say the sort of highlights of your year were? Sorry, carry on.
Sorry, can I just jump in a second? I won't give you both long. Just from visually watching you two guys here talking to one another that have been in that championship and me doing a bit of club racing and then superstock in BSB, I have never seen 2 calmer boys in my life race like absolute lunatics in that championship that you two boys have. It's like, these 2 kids are doing that kind of racing that I've seen on the TV.
You've got to save it all out for on circuit, though, don't you?
Yeah, no,
anybody that runs in that through the Supersport Championship, you're all maniacs, and you two are just here like, well, we might as well be having a bit of Bob Marley.
Yeah, it's all right.
I've never seen 2 kind of kids, and it's great to see 2 such lads that are so level-headed and could talk about racing so coherently and well. I like that.
Yeah.
But then when you get on the racetrack, it's like, right, I'll take my brain out of my head now. I'll put it in this box. My dad's going to look after that for now, and I'll take it back when I come back. No, I respect that.
Completely.
Again, that's all I've got to say. Well done.
No, absolutely. And you've really touched on something because I mean, obviously, anyone who's watched Moto3, World Supersport 300, stuff like that, it's absolutely manic. And I mean, I don't know how you cope with it. I mean, just tell us what it's been like for you, because obviously, I mean, you've had the experience in Junior Supersport, but then doing it out in Worlds is again completely different.
It is still the same feeling of, you know, being on the grid and you're still racing. So it's weird, once you're sat on the grid, you've still got the same nerves as BSB, as club racing. It's all still the same. You're still racing to win. It's all everyone wants to do. But I've had my team manager, my mechanic, and all that, and we're just sitting on the grid, and we're not silent, but we're just waiting. If you know what I mean, you know, people are crashing about, changing tyres, doing all this, and we're just sat there chilled out because, let's say, we've got the next 15, 20, 25 minutes. I've got to concentrate as hard as I possibly can. So it's kind of just relax, and the thing is, you can't have a plan as well, because as soon as you drop the clutch, that your plan has just completely gone out the window. So yeah.
I mean, you can only plan so much, and then by the first corner, 5 of them have gone down, another 5 have gone wide, and what you thought was going to happen is completely already gone out the window. So I completely understand what you mean, and I think it's hard to look at it from the outside because it just looks like completely crazy manic racing, but from the inside, you've got to be able to pull that off. You've got to be calm and thinking about what you're doing and getting through it. I mean, from the outside, it will just look, and it does feel manic at the same time. Yeah, but it's a sort of a calm aggression, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you've got to have that controlled aggression of, you know, when to do things and when to not, because you can instantly end your race.
And we've seen many chances where people have not.
Yeah, exactly. So you've really got to have that controlled aggression of exactly just when not to do things and when to do things. It's weird,
and it's a class that not a lot of Brits venture into. I mean, it's not very heavily populated in terms of Brits. What made you choose the class?
Well, I'm only in my 3rd year. Well, this is now my 3rd year racing, and I've only ever been on small bikes, and it was just, I could go to stock 600s and try and battle my way through that, but I think that's almost more scary than racing in 300s for me at the moment. So it was, you know, I got the opportunity, and to be on the world stage is, I think, where everyone wants to be. So I don't see the difference, instead of going from junior supersport to stock 6s and stock 1000s in Britain to, you know, staying on the same bike for a couple more years but going to worlds. You know, Scott Deroux is 23, Anna Carrasco is 24. You know, they're 8 years older than me, and they're still in the class. So there's no reason not to.
It's kind of the same thing with John McPhee and Moto3, really, and he's stuck with it, really, isn't he?
Yeah, no, exactly. His dream is as everyone's, to be at the top of the World Championship, whether it's Superbikes or GP. So you might as well stick around in Worlds. You know, your name gets mentioned a bit more because it's a World Championship. So I think it's definitely the place to be if you're for anyone, really.
Sure, and I mean, you've signed another year now with Scuderia Maranga Racing. What are your goals then for 2021? Because obviously you've had that year now. You know what it's like going into next year.
Everyone said to me before I started, as soon as you get this year over, it doesn't get easier. But if you can get through the first year, the second year does get easier. So, and of course, this year's been a bit all upside down.
It's been COVID. A weird year as well.
Yeah. COVID, and I broke my ankle at the start of the year, so I was completely on the back foot and changing everything about my riding. So for next year, I think the system in World Supersport 300 is changing again.
Okay.
So I don't think we're going to be having the last chance race.
Okay.
I say that it's just a rumour at the moment, but I think that's the way it's going to go. But for next year, it's just to keep progressing on what we're doing and just hopefully try and get a few points if there's not going to be a last chance race system. But if there is, to be battling in that top 6, top 8 for the main race. But I say it started to click at the end of the season, and you know, you just see some riders, and as soon as it clicks, they're just away. So all I can do is fingers crossed. So.
And did you have a long-term plan as well?
Well, the long-term plan is to be a world champion.
Of course.
And I think it's the same for everyone. It's just to be a champion in what they do. So for me, it's to stick around in worlds for as long as I possibly can. But I think definitely now that I've been in the European environment to stay, you know, whether it's RFME, CV, anything like that, just to stay in the European environment, because now I'm on these tracks. Going back to Alton Park and Cadwell is going to be a bit interesting.
Yeah, I did the same thing when I moved up, and then I came back to BSB tracks, and it was like learning all over again.
Yeah.
But is the goal, is World Supersport a goal at all?
Well, yeah, of course. But it's such a big jump from the 300s to Supersport 600s at the moment, because we've only got 52, 53, 54 horsepower, and they're now pushing 100, 130. I'm not sure what.
Supersport will be pushing more,
yeah. So, and we saw Hendra and Andy Bedoya this year, and it was a slow start to the season, but that's the thing. It just takes time, like everything. So, of course, it is the way to move up, Supersport and Superbike, but whatever way that happens, and yeah. And
that just stresses as well. I mean, how well Manuel Gonzalez has done moving up from. I know he had a very intense winter where he was basically on a 600 every day, but I mean, it's still extremely impressive.
It's to jump from the 300s to the 600 Supersport class and do that well. I think his best finish was a P6 or a P8. I personally, I'm not sure how he's done it in just that small winter training, and especially with COVID as well. I'm not sure how he's got it in. He's unbelievable. That
now should open a door for, because I remember, being in the paddock, the attitude was very much that, you can't go from World 300s to World 600s. The jump is too big. I spoke to a few team managers, and that's what they said. But now, having seen what he's done, that could now open a door for World Supersport 300 riders to come up through into World Supersport.
Yeah, completely. I think it is. The 300 riders do need to be just given a bit more of a chance. I think if you're at the top of the level in the 300s, then you definitely can make that step. But I think you just need someone to believe in the confidence to do it. You know, now Manuel's shown that he can do it. I think everyone's got that little confidence boost that they can.
Did we not have Jack Miller doing this years ago between Moto3 and MotoGP? Any man that's saying that as a team boss either doesn't have the belief in you so he can kiss your swingers, or you don't have the money to take to his team. No, there's when Johnny, for instance, when Johnny Ray was in Supersport 600 in the British, and he busted his leg quite badly at Knockhill. Neil Tuxworth got hold of him. He said, "Listen, we're going to get you fit. You're not going to ride a 600 anymore. We're going to take you straight to Superbike." There are riders that suit a certain style of motorcycle, no matter what age they are. And Johnny Ray was proven. Neil Tuxworth was proven right by seeing what Johnny Ray had in him. He was not a super sport rider. He was a Superbike rider. And I know that he went to World Superbikes in Supersport for the first year, but that's just because there wasn't the ride available for him. And Ten Carty said, "You do a year with this." I think it's the last 3 rounds when he took over from Sofawaglu, where they swapped roles, didn't they? If you remember. Yeah. So, if you're the right kind of rider with the right kind of style, it doesn't matter if you go from Moto3 straight to MotoGP or 300s to Supersport or Superbike. There's certain riders that just have that thing that can be shown every now and again.
For sure. And there's always going to be, most of the time there's someone who can spot that as well, can spot that someone's style is good enough to move to a specific class. Like they were saying with Brad Binder a lot when we were watching him on Moto2, a lot of people were saying he'd be good on a MotoGP bike, and he's come through and proved it.
Yeah, no, completely. And the same with Remy Gardner. All he kept saying was, as soon as he gets on a big bike, and now he's had the years of the big bike, he's doing better and better. And
what did you say about Remy turning down the KTM ride last year? Because if you remember, he had an offer to ride it, didn't he? It was for next year, weren't it, before Petrucci signed? I bet he's wounded about that now. I bet he's wounded.
Yeah. Admittedly, the KTM's last year, it wasn't the bike to be on, but now you've seen him this year, I think he's kicking himself a little bit. But he is in the KTM Academy now, if you like, in the Moto2. So
See, I thought, in fact, you're actually right there. I thought that with Petrucci signing for KTM next year in the Tech 3 team, and the way that Dovy's not kind of spoken up too much about 2022, I thought, I know what's happened here. KTM have tried to buy Petrucci out the contract that he's already signed to get Dovey on that bike for next season. And because they haven't done it in 2022, Dovy's just sat there going, I'll go and race Italian motocross for season, come back and take Petrucci's ride for 2022. But you're right, yeah. If Remy proves it, sorry, I've got 3 clowns in my front room now barking on. If Remy proves himself next year, then you could find that if what I'm saying is Dovey was going to get that ride, then Remy could be the one that's going to get the ride in 2022, and it might not be the worst thing he's ever done.
Yeah, completely. I think he was linked with the Aprilia ride, and I think he was linked with another ride. I can't remember where
you were linked with the Aprilia ride last week. We all were. I'm not rode for 3 years. Tristan were going to dye his hair and everything to come for the Aprilia ride. He was on it.
That's the idea. That's what I'm going for, yeah.
Well, Tristan, if you go full reg, you might as well, mate.
Yeah, no, might as well.
Sat there edging his bets, going, "I'll go to Ducati or which one?"
I think I can shave some sponsorship into it as well. But no, going back to Indy then. Do you think, mate, you'll come back to BSB at any point? Is that something that's in your mind?
I'd never say never, because it is such a high level championship.
Sure.
But at this moment in time, I would like to spend the next couple of years in Worlds and on the European circuits. You know, I've spent the first year on the European circuit, so it will almost be a bit silly to go back and reverse all of that now. So, but you know, anything can happen, and so I would say I'm not going to say no. But as long as I can stay in Worlds or European Championships, I'm going to try.
No, that's sweet. That's awesome. Well, we'll be continuing to follow you in your journey out in World Championships, and I don't blame you for not coming back and playing in the rain with us. So
Jerez is a little bit better than Not Kill. So
no, absolutely so. But thanks a lot for talking to us, Indy. It's been brilliant to talk to you again, and hopefully we'll have you back on at some point.
You know, I say thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, superstar, and incredible to still think that it's only a couple of years, 3 years, you said, Indy, that you...
Yeah, it's the end of the third year now, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
So...
I mean, this show is older than your racing career, it seems. And, we've only been doing it a few years, and for you to be doing it at that level, super. All credit to you.
Thank you very much.
But yeah, you're more than welcome to come back on the show and tell us about your. I don't know. Maybe we'll catch up with you mid-season. Tell us about your successes in 21, maybe.
Perfect. Hopefully, yeah.
Fantastic stuff. Thank you very much, Indy offer to come on the Superbike show, which we still have a few more minutes left of.
This is Motorsport Radio.
Awesome, right?
The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Woo! Yeah, defo. And it's the Superbike Show. It's Lester here. Hello, good evening. And four amazing... The show's gone so quickly tonight. We've had some amazing people on talking about some amazing stuff. We almost need a show, Michael, to talk about tonight's show, to talk about all the stuff that was said on it, because I'm like, what do you mean?
Pretty much. We've missed the most important things about racing that's happened last weekend at MotoGP and everything else. Yeah, we'll have to do another show next week. You're gonna have to get off your ass, Lester, and do something.
Yeah, I'll have to do some prep. Actually, by the way,
let's do some prep. I'll contact you 3 minutes before we're due to go on air and talk a little bit of bollocks, and then we'll carry on it. No.
That's what we've been doing for the past few years.
We haven't even spoke about Sam Lowe's yet.
Oh yeah, Sam Lowe's.
We should have him on the show.
Jeez, yeah. I mean, yeah.
I was getting a bit nervous in that Moto2 race. I thought he was going to do it for a little while.
Yeah.
He would have to beat Marini as well, though, wouldn't he?
He better shut his trap because he was barking onto. If you were expecting Sam Lowe's to make a 3 second gap up when his wrist was clearly knackered, like, mate, it's not happening. Let's just concentrate on what is going to happen. You know what I mean? Sam had cut his losses and said, "Yeah, I'll be third in this championship. I'm happy now."
Well, what he did was incredible as well. I mean, obviously, everyone wanted him to win it, but I mean, not taken away from what he actually did do with the pain he was in and the injury that he had he was doing pace that he wasn't doing all weekend.
Yeah, and in qualifying and practice, he could only do it for like a single lap, and then you could see him come in the pits, and I know that face that he had when he come in the pits when he was leaning against the boards, and you could tell he was in agony.
It shows what adrenaline does for you, doesn't it, in the race?
I honestly don't want to say. I don't want to say this in the wrong way and take anything away from me.
I think I know what you're going to say.
No, go for it.
But I'm probably going to. I've known the Laws family for God Almighty, probably 20 years now, and helped Sam and Alex when they were kids, and they've got a lot of time for me. But their mother Donna, she can drink like king fish. So I've seen where their genes have come from. She will never give in. You will never outdrink that woman. The dad is on another level of drinking. So what they've put into their drinking, their sons have put into their racing. I know that they will never give in. So to hear that Sam rode through that race with a broken wrist was absolutely no surprise to me whatsoever, because that family are just nuts.
Maybe that's the secret.
Word, they are fucking nuts. Alex and Sam are such great lads, and it's just their passion. You could see why Ron Haslam took them on when they were kids, because you could see that that's all they wanted. And that's what shone through on Sunday. And I think if the FAM had an award for the bravest ride of the season, then Sam would have got it, because he came into the garage on Sunday morning after morning warm-up. His brother Alex was there, and he went, "I can't ride, brother. I simply can't ride. I cannot race this bike. I'm a danger to myself." One of the riders, and Alex went, "Calm down. Let's go to Med Centre. Let's get this sorted and just go as far as you can." And I think one of his fastest laps was put in on one of the last laps.
Yeah,
it was too far behind to make it kind of count as that he could make up time, but he put one of his fastest laps in on the last lap. So it just shows the talent of the man, the strength of the man, the courage of the man.
Let's just hope he wins the championship next season.
If he don't, I'll go down to Lincoln and kick his ass.
Yeah,
when he's visiting his mum, because I don't live
there. Him or Jake, anyway. Him or Jake.
Did you see his hand? A picture that he posted today.
Nice.
Wow, yeah, that was
nothing quite tops the post that Cal did earlier in the year, though. Did you guys see that when he had his surgery?
I'm a very squeamish person.
Oh yeah, no, I saw that.
Yeah, we should get a picture of that up on the show. That was grim.
Yeah.
Did you see the picture when Sam left his car at the airport, the Isle of Man, and Cal was flying out the day after, and Cal sprawled himself across Sam's brand new BMW going, "I think you've left your car, Sam."
No, but I can imagine it.
There's been a couple of comments throughout the show. Thank you very much if you have been in touch with us. Apologies for not reading out messages, just because it's been like a conveyor belt of interesting guests on the show tonight. But regarding going back to the Super Sport, the factory Triumph, and who might be riding that, well, someone suggested, Michael, that maybe you might be involved. And then someone else shot you down, or shot the idea of that happening. I think it was Terry Stride who suggested that you should just stay on the commentary and the pillions. We've had enough chips and gravy. And to which Dave Turner, who suggested it in the first place, said that's quite true. He couldn't run a bath.
Well, Dave Turner couldn't run a bath in a brewery. As for the other guy, he can kiss my swingers. It's gone 10 o'clock now, and I need to go and have a bath, walk my dog, and have a beer. So you can keep your comments to yourself and not really ask, to be fair.
So you didn't.
But thanks for listening in, guys. It's been great. Honestly, they're about as comical as a cracking arse, aren't they?
So there you go, Michael Howarth running the Triumph team then next year. You heard it here first. Or at least we think he knows who will be.
I have no idea. But I think we may have hit ourselves on a scoop tonight without really even knowing.
Go on.
Brad Jones has signed for him, hasn't he?
Well, I'll have to go back and listen to that again. I'll go back and listen to that when I'm editing it, and I think he did say that he had conversations with.
That was his words, yeah.
The person, and then you dived in. Let's not talk about that for some reason, Michael. You was like, oh, let's get on to talking about something else. I'd been like, no, tell us more. Who've you dropped in it?
I've been in that situation before myself, though. So you're trying to move on, don't you?
I don't know what was worse, that or what Max Cook wanted to do with his bucket list with his missus.
We probably should move on. I think it is the end of the show.
Max Cook sat in a sauna wanting a threesome.
Yeah, is that the time? It is past 10 o'clock. End of the show time, I think. Oh, Jesus. Okay, thank you anyway for tuning in. If you wanted to cut out all our nonsense and just listen to any of the individual interviews, I will be up till 4 a.m. editing them all and putting them on the internet, so just check them out. And you can also go on our website. We've got a website, motorsport.radio. Piss off, Michael. Our website, which you are currently on, motorsport.radio. If you wanted to go back and listen to any of the interviews, just type their name in. Michael Howarth even got a presenter page on there. Don't know why you'd want to.
Well, that seems to be like the front room laughing, didn't it?
But anyway, thank you very much for coming on tonight's show. What are you eating anyway? And what have you been filming?
Right, so today, you've got to give me this little plug bit. I was filming a TV show for, what the bloody hell's it called?
Nice promo.
Pass my phone. It was some internet thing that's done really well. What's the website called?
Star Events Online.
Star Events Online. Sorry, it sounds really unprofessional, but I've spent all day filming and come on here and I'm absolutely shattered. So the Star Events Online, they contacted me last week and said the TV show that's interactive with Zoom, and they wanted me to come on and do a programme where I interview someone from the world of motorsports, but also cook. As Leicester will well know, if you're on my Facebook page, I've been doing a lot of cooking for the past few weeks to get ready for this.
Oh, is that what that was?
And I honestly, shut up, we're still live. So we went on today and I cooked a rack of lamb, and I interviewed Dave Tyson from Bike Devil Racing as was. I had a right good chat for about an hour and 20 minutes that will be condensed into a TV show of about half an hour. That we'll do the promo on Friday. Be a 90-second promo comes out on Friday, and then we're going to try and sell it to a lot of TV stations and see how it goes. But yeah, it was all right. I think you even get a message in it. I mentioned in it somewhere, Lester. So
without swearing? It probably wasn't a compliment anyway.
It was supposed to be pre-watershed, and I think you might have been called a bloody little bastard, but I don't think I called you the C word or the F word. But I can't.
You must take that as a compliment, Lester.
I've been called worse, mostly.
I think there might have been something about Willy Wonka wanting to go back to work because he was getting pissed off with him being on here, but I can't comment on that. But I know. But that's what I've been doing today. And then I've come on here and had a good guest again, and we're going to have to do one more out before we sign off for the winter, I reckon.
Oh, one more show?
Yes.
Yeah. We've
got all the MotoGP stuff to discuss and the little bit of winter session that's gone on this week.
I have been on an interview invitational blitz in the past week or so. I won't tell you who I've invited on exactly, but if they do come on, then it'll be by far one of the biggest interviews that we've ever had here on
you can't leave there that, Lester. You
can. Fucking. What have you done? Interviewed Brad Jones about his new ride for the 765 Triumph people next year.
No, because we don't know officially what he said because you cut him off. But anyway, no. Anyway, I won't say too much about it, but OMG are apparently going to be announcing their second rider on their bike. I think it's on Thursday morning, i.e. tomorrow, if you're listening to this live. And it may or may not be Brad Ray, just as it was or wasn't Peter Hickman at the time when I think Trystan mentioned it. I think
but it was never Peter Hickman, was it?
Well, it might have been for a little bit.
Peter Hickman.
Well, they never denied it.
He's got connections with Rich Energy.
Connections, you see? Connections.
British Mini Bike Championship.
Exactly. They're practically...
It didn't turn out well, did it?
No.
Hello, Peter.
Is it someone else that didn't get? You're someone else that didn't get paid, then, eh?
So the end of the show is upon us. Bring some of your food on the show next week, and show,
I look forward to watching this.
Show your work.
Right. Well, I'll just say because I'm going to bugger off now because he's like barking on in my logo. I will. There'll be a 90-second promo that comes out on Friday of this new show. I think it's called Crashing and Cooking or something like that.
Is this on YouTube, by the way?
No. It's going to be on the Star Events Online, it's called, but I'll put the promo on Facebook. It may be Crash Course Cooking. We're trying to finalise what the actual name is. Crash Course Cooking or something like that, and it literally is me cooking a meal while interviewing somebody from the motorsport world. And it is crash car cooking. It's hilarious. No. Car crash cooking, sorry, because it all goes tits up. So
is it basically just you and Dave Tyson stuffing your face at the end of it?
No, because he was down in his workshop and he was chatting more bollocks than me, to be fair.
There you go.
But he did. But for the pilot show that we're then going to try and sell to RTV4 and such other things, it did work really well. And I'll put a promo on my Facebook page. I'll tag you in it as well, Lester. And
cheers.
And we'll see what goes. It's all right, Lester. We know.
I'll start preparing my sarcastic responses right now.
You'll start preparing your Just Eat menu when you've seen it. I know what you'll be doing. I'll have that, a blow-up doll. Sorry, Just Eat, not just meat. Sorry.
Anyway.
Right, listen, I've got to go. Thank you ever so much for having me on. You lot sign off, and I'll leave you all to it.
Well, we're going as well. We're all disappearing because we've taken up everyone's valuable time. They're busy doing nothing, I suppose.
I just wanted you to sign off. Jesus, Lester, you're boring now.
Oh, bloody hell.
Sorry, mate.
Right, we are going. Thank you very much, Indy, for coming on. Thank you, Michael Hill. Thank you, Brad Jones, and Max Cook as well, live from his sauna in his back garden. That's not an image we want to.
Sorry, I'm doing it. Stop.
It's having a domestic now. Anyway, thank you very much. It's been the Superbike Show. This has been Motorsport Radio, and we'll be back next week. Thanks, Trystan.
Thank you,
Jay, and bye.
This is Motorsport Radio.
Awesome, right?
The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.